We're going to be talking about relationship issues and dynamics again today. In a past video, and I'm going to link it below, I have talking about the issue of moving too quickly in relationships, of trauma bonding, of anxious attachment style, of getting right into relationships. Today we're going to come right into the other polarity of things, and we're going to talk about the potential issues of somebody who's a bit more avoidant in a relationship, of being fearful of commitment, and when one person is wanting commitment faster than the other person, and how to go about this. So sometimes in relationships, it can be very healthy to really get to know that person and come in as individuals, and to allow yourself to find security in who you are, knowing that you're enough, knowing that you are powerful enough to have the free will to get the kind of partner you're looking for, to be desired, and it never has to be that one person. Where you can be more open to the potential of things working out and not working out and giving it a chance, because you're able to soothe yourself, your anxieties about things, and to feel more secure, and knowing that you don't need that other person to complete you or make you whole, but you'd also like them to add to your life and for them to be a romantic partner that you can see yourself with. It can be very awkward to come into relationships where one person is wanting or needing commitment a lot sooner than the other person. That doesn't mean it doesn't have to work. Sometimes some people can feel that that person is a potential life partner of theirs, or that they're potentially the perfect partner for them within their heart in a split 5 seconds. And that doesn't mean you have to act on it, but sometimes people just have a knowingness that comes from a deeper knowledge, a deeper intuition, a deeper recognizing of soul to soul, of heart to heart. Sometimes you can have a heart-spaced connection with someone where, without any words, without any communication, you look into their eyes and you exchange energy from your heart to theirs. You can have a heart-spaced connection and bond with someone that doesn't require time, that doesn't require experiences, that doesn't require anything beyond you receiving them in totality and being in a space of love, and them receiving you totality and being in a space of love. That is a heart space connection and communication, and it is deeply profound and beautiful when you find these moments with people, when you find this space with people where you just recognize each other's hearts, and you make space for each other as human beings, where you care about each other, have compassion for each other, feel gratitude for each other, and are both completely willing to respect each other's free will and just show love for each other, even if you don't want to attach yourselves or need to attach yourself to that person. When one person is needing a lot more space to commit, they may need to, a lot of people need to really feel that experience of spending time together and going slowly and taking one step at a time to really, around every corner, feel like you're right for them. They're not someone who gets something out of instant commitment. It doesn't feel real to them, and they feel like they're going to lose their boundaries, their free will, and their trust. There's someone who really wants to make sure that that person is right for you, in a way that they're really testing you, they're testing situations, they're really seeing how do we communicate, and they're really making the checks around every corner to see, learning more about you, understanding more about you, understanding more about the kind of relationship they're getting into, understanding more about the dirty laundry in your closet, but also the amazing things about you, and really building experiences and getting very, very slowly open to the idea of someday committing and someday attaching themselves to you. This doesn't have to be a bad thing. People who are more in this avoidant, shall we call it, relationship style, which doesn't have to be something that is coming from a place of trauma. And it doesn't always have to be something that is toxic, but it can be. Sometimes people just have extreme enmeshment trauma, and they're really in a space where they need to really own their free will and own their boundaries and really prioritize themselves. And it feels, when committing too quickly to a partner, having that person come too close too fast, like they haven't figured out fully if they want to be with you, if you check all the boxes, and they really want the process of deciding and seeing, are you really for them, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, in order to really fully capitalize on their free will in the situation and expand the experience of understanding and comprehending what is for them and isn't for them. They're really in a process of learning about themselves and other people, and they're really needing to do that just in a different way, in their own way, shall we say. And if you're somebody who has deeper, more vulnerable needs for a partner, that can be really emotionally triggering, and we can make it get in our head and make it mean things about ourselves, and make it mean that that person is never going to see us as valuable, or that it's something about us that keeps them at bay. To the opposite of this more avoidant style of exploring free will kind of person, another person could be more vulnerable when it comes to relationships, and they might need more reassurance. They may have deeper needs for closeness in relationships, for things like milestones, like knowing that I'm going to get to move in with that person because I don't want to live alone. Don't want to live alone anymore, or I don't want to live alone at all. They might be really deeply desiring that kind of partnership where you live together and where you're like this like little family system together. That person might feel unsafe if they're not living with a romantic partner, like physically unsafe. They might feel lonely. They may feel like they have a personal truth around needing and wanting and desiring that commitment, and that's their focus, and their priority is deciding who they like and who's for them in the same way the other person is. But they're a lot more easily able to decipher that. They're a lot more easily able to understand, okay, that person's for me and this is why. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to find things down the line in that exploration process that is a deal breaker for them either, but they're just a lot more open to wanting, with their free will, to have that commitment and to have that yes and to have that closeness and to bring that person as close as possible. They're wanting deeper things. They're wanting more closeness in their relationships. And sometimes the trauma side of this can be anxious attachment, but the healthy side of this is just wanting and getting to have closeness and knowing what your personal truth is, and you being someone who is wanting and needing to have that kind of relationship, and you're ready for it. And you can come at this in a way that is secure and isn't anxious attachment at all. It's just somebody who wants commitment, somebody who wants closeness, somebody who has these needs. And so a lot of different relationship styles can be contradictory and can have a lot of contrast, but they don't necessarily not work. So if it's an absolute deal breaker for you to be in a relationship with someone who's on that explorative journey and they're unable to give you that commitment right away and they need to move slower, that relationship might be a deal breaker for you. And to the contrary, it might be a deal breaker for you if you're on that explorative journey and somebody's wanting that commitment from you right away. But I want you to understand that it can actually be the case that these kinds of people do work together, and this is how it would look. The person who's wanting commitment and is feeling more vulnerable about needing that closeness with them and needing that connection with them and needing them to come closer is going to start having and needing to have open conversations about what they're needing. Something that can be really healthy and healing, especially if you're with someone that is the explorative kind of relationship, is to ask them questions about themselves and to build intimacy based off of communication, based off of experiences, and intentionally creating deep, vulnerable, intimate experiences, like going to a spa where you're cuddling all day and being in a hot tub, or you're going camping together and cuddling up by the fire, or you're going to an Airbnb or a cottage and swimming. So planning intentional experiences, but also having deeper communication. And there's actually decks of cards that you can get where it makes it kind of like a game, and they're called like intimacy cards, where everybody pulls like a card from these different categories, from past experiences to relationship kind of question cards to sexual kind of question cards to things to learn about you. So if you're having trouble talking to your partner, it can be really fun to do it through a game where there's a deck of cards, and it's kind of like giving you both the experience of talking about things, learning about each other, and bonding on a deeper level. Once you understand what your personal truth is, it's important to make it really clear to yourself what that would look like, what your timeline looks like, and what you're needing from the other person, all things considered. So for example, you might be totally okay with not being moved in over the next 2 years and still getting to know each other. You might be totally okay with not being in a committed monogamous relationship for the first 8 months to a year and a half, whatever it is. Or maybe you have a 5-month timeline. Maybe you have a 2-month timeline where it stops feeling good. Your timeline might be 1 month even, and that's okay. Whatever your truth is, whatever your personal truth is, where you stop feeling good about it, is perfectly acceptable. You get to have that, just might not be with the other person. And in order to receive yourself, in order to not dishonor and abandon your own boundaries and violate yourself, your wants and needs, you have to be brave enough to learn about yourself, discover these things about yourself, and powerfully advocate for yourself to the degree that you may share these vulnerable things with someone and it doesn't line up with them, and you lose the person over your truth versus theirs. And it doesn't mean anything about you, and it doesn't mean anything about them. It's scary to be vulnerable, and it's scary to be real with ourselves, and it's scary to face what we're really wanting and needing. But the second you advocate for yourself and you make it a priority to do that, you're going to line up with the people, places, things, and resources that want to be a match to that. And if you don't advocate for yourself first, how can you ever expect to line up with those experiences? It's worth it to be vulnerable. It's scary to be vulnerable. It can be painful, but learning about these things is super important. You can also have lots of different ideas beyond just timelines, beyond I need you to move in with me at this date, I need you to marry me by this date, I need you to be monogamous with me on this date. You can have little milestone things or little things that you're needing from them along the way. For instance, I might be okay with not being in a monogamous relationship with them if I have a conversation about them for how do you really feel about this relationship? What do you really see with me? Can you see yourself as being my romantic partner? Are you wanting a committed relationship? Maybe getting reassurance and validation from them. Maybe having certain experiences from them, like them prioritizing you. Maybe you don't need that committed monogamous relationship right away, but they're prioritizing to see you every single weekend, or they're prioritizing to communicate with you all the time, and they're showing you that they're there for you and that you're a priority and that they're working towards being ready to commitment. Maybe they're not somebody who is ready to move in with you in 2 years, but you can start having milestones and asking for your needs of, okay, I need you to start having these kinds of experiences with me. Like maybe I need to have holidays with you and feel more like I'm someone that is your priority and close to you. Maybe I want to meet your family. Maybe I want to, adopt a dog together. I don't know. Whatever it is that would make you feel like your needs are getting met. And you can really break it down. What are those needs? Am I needing to feel like a priority? Am I needing to feel supported? Am I needing to feel valued? What is it that I'm needing that I'm not getting that might be underneath that desire for commitment, that fear about commitment? And what would it really look like if I broke it down and described it to that person clearly? We also have to make them really understand why we're wanting something, why we're needing something from them, so that they can come towards care and compassion for us. We have to be vulnerable about our truths and be honest about them, and really allow ourselves to open up from a heart-spaced place. It can be, again, scary as hell to do this, but it's worth it because there is closeness with that person, magic with that person, and saving yourself a lot of time and frustration and wasted years of your life, or wasted time in your life, where if you were just honest with that person about your personal truth, you could have found out that it didn't match theirs at all a lot sooner. So it's best to really have these conversations and to assess on a deeper level when it comes to commitment and when it comes to space. What is the right pace for you? What is the right pace for them? And what is it that you both are honestly wanting and seeing about each other and seeing for your future together? What does their timeline look like? And can they see you in the roles of commitment that you're wanting from them? Yes or no? I hope that this helped you realize that it's okay to be in these situations, and it's perfectly healthy to have a difference in relational needs, and it doesn't make the other person always toxic or trauma ridden. It doesn't make you toxic or trauma ridden. It's not always avoidant or insecure attachment from a place that is unhealthy. Sometimes you guys can actually have this difference of wants and needs from a perfectly healthy place. And if you are coming from avoidance or insecure attachment from a trauma experience, that's perfectly acceptable too. I would also highly suggest watching Teal Swan's video on anxious attachment style and avoidance style, because it's super duper helpful when it comes to this stuff.
The sun, chariot of fire, burning with desire as he runs the race.